I think you're doing some quite complicated sort of mental arithmetic to offset the fact that people didn't think you were funny. I think the reality is...
These students saw me performing at Top Secret Comedy Club, one of the best comedy clubs in the country, and invited me to come on their charity gig.
But I'm not going to stop talking.
Okay,
so if you wait, I'll have... You had
Wow,
your go on.
what a blowhard.
Whoever pays the piper calls the tune. If you're a really good comedian, you can be funny without being offensive.
1 minute later.
What kind of joke do you find funny?
I find really offensive humour very funny, personally.
You do?
Hypocrite!
Like really, really rude humour.
I'm outraged.
Later.
On a university event, you can't have jokes about being gay or being trans or about ethnicity.
I'm not going to vote in this election. I'm not going to vote in this. Last time I voted, they called it Russian interference. They're saying the Russians were responsible for Brexit as well. Have you heard this? The Russians were responsible. I'm sorry. If we were responsible for Brexit, Brexit would be done.
Absolutely.
We'd be out. We would have taken a chunk of France with us.
A little bit of Italy.
We won't need 3 years for negotiations.
3
One
minutes.
meeting, done. Just go over to Europe, undermine everybody. It's like, you're all here. President Macaron, Donald Tusk, Jean-Claude Wanker. Very good. Okay, first things first, we're supposed to leave in January. We left yesterday. That is how much we don't like you. Also, we have this problem with the Irish border. Yes, it's very complicated. Explain to me, what is border? In Russia, we don't have this.
We don't have it in America either.
Before I go, I should explain. We had a little bit of how you say revolution in People's Republic of Britain. Yes, we removed Theresa May, so now we have Prime Minister with Russian name.
Good old Boris Johnson. There's
and
Natasha.
Russian policies. Yes, actually we arrested Comrade Corbyn, but that guy's tough. Yeah, we interrogate him for a week, still don't know what his position on Brexit is.
Party, like many left-wing parties all over the West, they've been entrapped by the woke mind virus you've been talking about. So
absolutely.
You can't talk about immigration if you're on the left because you're afraid of the people to your left. Right.
You're afraid of saying you're racist.
Exactly.
Right.
And we have this problem in England where I live. No. We have ethnic minority politicians who are attempting to deal with this issue. They're still being called racist. You can't deal with it properly, and that's why she's been saddled with it.
I mean, Bernie Sanders used to be one of the most virulent immigration restrictionists, right. And his argument was that it suppresses working class wages, which is an argument some economists make. He's backed away from that in recent years.
To be elected.
It's not just Bernie Sanders, it's Bill Clinton, it's Hillary Clinton, it's Chuck Schumer, it's all the Democrats and it's all the people in England just the same on the left. Everybody used to agree that countries need borders, and for some reason we've forgotten that.
How does...
Complete red herring.
If your bank account was closed, probably wouldn't be a red herring for you.
It's a complete red herring. What's happening is that there are international rules on money laundering. And whether we have an inquiry into them, or whether you have a bank account with a bank that you don't like, those rules won't change. Those rules are there to protect us and to protect shareholders of banks against people who end up money laundering. Now, politically exposed people, there's a lot of them. There's 2 around this table. There's a lot of them. Banks must assure themselves that their sources of fund and wealth are real. So we don't know what the situation is with Farage, but one of the things banks have to do they don't do it of what the news flow is around that person. Now, rightly or wrongly, a Labour accused Nigel Farage of taking £500,000 from the Russian government. Whether that's Farage denies it, whether it's true or not, the bank has to take account of it, and then just has to say, well, are we running a risk that we don't want to run? And that's really all that's going on. Probably the same thing with you.
I'm not a politically exposed person.
Well,
So how is that happening with me?
We don't know. I don't know your personal case.
So you just said it's probably happening with me, but you don't know.
But the bank, they're taking a principled decision about the risks
How
that
do you
they're
know?
running.
You have no idea how
I
they
do
take
know.
it.
I do because I understand banking regulations.
No, you don't understand
It's there in black
anything,
and
you
white.
twat.
They have to follow their own regulations.
This is such an interesting transformation that's happened to people like you on the left.
People
The left,
like me.
Yes, people like
the
you,
left
leftists.
used to be about protecting the ordinary person from big corporations and big government and all of this stuff. That's what you used to believe in. And here you are, you're sitting and defending a banking corporation,
I'm defending
having no
international
idea
law.
why they made the
I'm
decisions that they
defending
made.
international banking regulation and law.
You're
it's a great
defending
cause.
that is
crapola.
there to protect you and me from scammers
You and me.
money launderers.
I can just tell you, I don't feel very protected right now.
Let's
There you
hear
go.
from our. Let's hear from our.
The important point here is that this isn't just happening to the so-called exposed people. You made the point this is happening to a lot of people on very low incomes, and that's one of the points I've been keen to
Absolutely.
emphasize throughout this whole thing. My podcast has 1 million subscribers across different platforms. I can go out and get attention for this in the media.
Yes.
So can Nigel Farage. If you're someone who earns 20 grand and you said
You're
the wrong thing
screwed.
somewhere that someone didn't
Up the
like and they
river
closed
without
your
a
account,
paddle.
what are you going to do?
That was,
And
so
this
that
is
wasn't
what-
the point I was making.
But it's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but you said,
With
you
respect.
flipped it to what I said. The point I'm making is that there are people on low incomes who trying to get access to financial services
Yes.
is really hard. And I'd like to see the banks doing a little
Really
bit more
hard.
than that
Fine.
on that. And that's really comes back to what Keir Starmer's been saying about access to all kinds of services for people on lower incomes.
Fine. My point is, I
Well,
think it's very
conservatives.
unwise and short-termist for people to say, well, as long as it's happening to Nigel Farage, this is okay. And I would remind you, whatever you personally may feel about Nigel Farage, I voted Remain in the Brexit referendum. Nigel Farage represents a hell of a lot of people in this country.
Absolutely.
And he represents their
People that he's
this
never been elected.
whole- doesn't,
Ooh,
it's not really-
what a
People love
twit,
him, but
what a
he's never
twat.
He's never
he
won a
represents
single
a hell of a
election.
lot more people than you, Paul.
Let
Believe
them
me.
stand
check
for
and
parliament.
bait. Way to
particularly
go.
share
Let
his
them
views.
stand for parliament.
That
See
isn't
what
my
you've got
point.
to get.
My point is, this is not about some wacko on the far end of the political spectrum having their bank account closed. This is someone who has a mainstream view in this country, and this is completely unacceptable to be happening to someone.
Is there a problem though that it took a public?
Being called a Nazi comedian, right? Is that now got a niche?
A Nazi niche.
I've got my voice. I've got something to write into. Right. Problem is, I haven't got any racist, sexist, homophobic jokes. I'm actually quite a progressive guy. Like some of my best friends are gender fluid lesbians of color. I don't get on with all of them. I'm progressive, so I have to, fill the quota. That's what it's about. No, but I do have progressive. I have progressive. Like, a lot of people in this room, they've got an issue with the trans thing. I really don't. Look how silent it is in here all of a sudden. I really don't. I get it. I get it. Especially the women who want to become men. I get it. But you've seen it. You've seen it. Like, think about it. Do you remember when Gareth Bale, right, went from Tottenham to Real Madrid? Do you remember? The guy left a perfectly good club for more money.
Man, Kisin just delivers the goods. I mean, it's just amazing what he's been able to do. First generation immigrant from Russia, comes to the UK, starts doing comedy, starts building his brand. Next thing you know, he just gets into this whole political scene, basically, as he's just trying to, because of what's happening. I mean, people are like trying to, ban him, deplatform him, because he went to this college and made some jokes that just upset and ruffled the feathers of some snowflakes and some virtue signaling leftist hypocrites that we saw, the first lady in the clip, the first girl. Oh, we can both talk or you can talk, but we can't talk. And if I'm talking, what the heck was that? I would have told her, you know what, lady, maybe you ought to stop going to the buffet so often. You know what I'm talking about? Uh-oh, offensive, triggering. And the thing that I like about Kisin is, at least so far, there doesn't seem to be any hypocrisy on that in terms of the culture wars. He definitely is hitting it hard. So on some issues, he basically says that he's not conservative or he's not liberal. He's basically somewhere in between. He says on some issues he's conservative, on some issues he's liberal. So the fact of the matter is, like he talked about there, in terms of what's happening on the left, man, you guys across the pond in Britain got a bunch of pussies out there. I mean, both on Labour and on the Tories. And we've got our, PUSSIES as well here on some of the conservative side. That's true. That's happening all the time. The left and the liberal and the progressives, they're going to go that way. And the same thing. Anything is triggering. A word, a song, a look with the eye. Anything at all that you basically, microaggressions, macroaggressions, it's all there. But, it's good to see Kisin, standing up, not taking the BS from anybody, basically, and fighting back, not apologizing for anything at all, not backing down. And that's what we say all the time. You can't go on the defense with these guys. You can't go on the defense with leftists and progressives, these other activists from the LGBTQIA, MOUSE, the alphabet networks. You just can't. You got to get up there. You got to get up in their face. You got to tell them, hey, I'm not taking your crap. And by the way, you called me a racist? Well, I think you're a pedophile. I mean, that's the other thing, basically, that can happen as well. So good on you. Good on you, Kisin, and your comedy. I love it. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Put your comments down below. What'd you think of Kisin's comedy routine? What'd you think of the girl that spends a little bit too much time at the buffet table, basically, in the first clip? Anyways, take a look at our other video links above and below. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.